Have you ever stopped to think about where your digital life actually lives? Every photograph you have ever taken, every financial document, every creative project you have poured your soul into. We casually toss it all up into the mysterious, invisible ether we call the cloud, assuming it will just be there forever, safe and sound. But the reality is far more grounded, and honestly, a bit more unsettling. The cloud is not magic. It is, quite literally, just someone else's computer. And lately, there is a quiet but incredibly powerful rebellion brewing against this model. People and businesses are realizing the vulnerability of renting space for their digital lives, and they are taking their data back.
It really is a fascinating psychological and technological shift. We spent the last decade rushing to outsource our digital footprints to massive tech conglomerates simply because of the sheer convenience. But the honeymoon phase is definitely over. Subscription fatigue is real, privacy concerns are at an all-time high, and suddenly, the idea of paying monthly rent to store your own memories or corporate secrets feels deeply flawed. That is exactly why we are seeing a massive resurgence in a technology that has been around for a while, but is suddenly the most critical topic in data management: network attached storage, commonly known as NAS.
NAS. It sounds highly technical, maybe even intimidating to the average person who just wants to make sure their smartphone photos do not disappear if they drop their device in a lake. But the core concept is actually incredibly intuitive once you strip away the IT jargon. If we are going to break down what a NAS really is to someone entirely new to the concept, how would you explain it?
Hmm. Think of the public cloud like Google Drive, iCloud, or Dropbox as a massive, bustling apartment complex where you rent a tiny storage locker. It is convenient, they have security guards at the front door, and you do not have to worry about building maintenance. But you are paying rent every single month forever. And ultimately, the landlord holds the master key. They can look at your boxes, they can use your data to train their algorithms, or they can lock you out completely if an automated system decides you violated some obscure policy. A NAS, on the other hand, is like buying a high-tech indestructible safe, putting it right in your own living room, and connecting it to a magical pipeline that lets you access its contents from anywhere in the world. Physically, it is a dedicated mini computer connected directly to your home or office internet router, designed specifically to store, manage, and serve your files. You own the hardware. You own the storage space. And, most importantly, you hold the only key.
That is a brilliant way to frame it. The distinction between renting and owning is so central to modern technology. We rent our music, we rent our movies, and we rent our data storage. But with a NAS, you are reclaiming ownership. Let us talk about the actual applications, because it feels like something a large corporation would use, yet I know individuals who swear by their home NAS setups. Who is actually using this, and what are they doing with it?
It spans the entire spectrum, which is exactly what makes the technology so versatile. On the consumer side, the biggest application right now is media management and archiving. We are generating massive files today: 4K videos from our phones, high-resolution RAW photos, drone footage. Cloud storage tiers get incredibly expensive when you hit multiple terabytes of data. A family can set up a NAS to automatically back up every single phone and laptop in the house the moment they connect to the Wi-Fi. But beyond just boring backups, it acts as a personal entertainment hub. You can load it up with your own movies, music, and home videos, and stream them directly to your smart TV or to your phone while you are travelling halfway across the world using software like Plex. You essentially become your own private streaming service.
That alone is a game changer for anyone tired of streaming platforms constantly removing their favorite shows or hiking up their monthly fees. But moving up the ladder, what happens when we look at small businesses or creative professionals? A freelance video editor or a boutique architecture firm cannot rely on a simple home setup, right? They need something much more robust.
Exactly. For creative professionals, a NAS is not just storage, it is the beating heart of their daily workflow. Imagine a team of video editors working on a massive documentary. They cannot constantly download and upload hundreds of gigabytes of raw 8K footage to the public cloud. It would take days. Instead, they use a high-performance NAS connected to their local network. Multiple editors can seamlessly access, edit, and render the exact same massive files simultaneously in real time without any lag. And for small businesses, a NAS acts as a centralized server. It hosts their internal email, manages their customer databases, and runs virtual machines. It provides enterprise-level infrastructure without the need to hire a full-time IT department or pay astronomical enterprise cloud fees.
So it is not just a dumb box of hard drives. It actually has a brain. It is processing, routing, and managing complex workflows. But let us scale this up even further. We have talked about the home user and the small business, but what about massive, global enterprises? Why would a massive logistics company or a smart city infrastructure rely on NAS when they have access to unlimited, enterprise-grade public cloud solutions from the biggest tech giants in the world?
That brings us to one of the most exciting and critical frontiers in technology right now, edge computing. Imagine a massive manufacturing plant with thousands of robotic arms, all equipped with sensors generating gigabytes of diagnostic data every single second. If you try to send all that raw data to a centralized cloud server hundreds of miles away to be analyzed, the bandwidth costs will bankrupt you, and the latency, the delay in transmission, could cause a machine to malfunction before the cloud even sends back an alert. Instead, enterprises deploy powerful NAS systems right there on the factory floor at the edge of the network. The NAS collects, processes, and filters that massive wave of data locally in milliseconds. It only sends the most important, refined insights up to the central cloud. It is about speed, efficiency, and keeping critical operations running, even if the internet connection to the outside world goes completely down.
That makes perfect sense. It is like having a brilliant middle manager on site who handles all the daily chaos and only reports the critical summaries to the CEO. But I want to pivot to something a bit deeper. There is a profound social and philosophical implication here. We are essentially talking about digital sovereignty. When you put your data in a public cloud, you are implicitly trusting a megacorporation with your digital identity. And history has shown us time and time again that these corporations are not infallible. They suffer massive data breaches. They change their terms of service overnight. And increasingly, they scan user data to train artificial intelligence models.
That last point is arguably the biggest catalyst for the current NAS boom. The realization that your private data, your personal journals, your unpublished novels, your proprietary business designs is being commodified and ingested by AI engines without your explicit consent is terrifying to a lot of people. When you use a NAS, you are building a moat around your digital life. You are actively opting out of the surveillance capitalism machine. But, and this is a crucial caveat, with great power comes great responsibility. When you own the data infrastructure, you are the security guard. If a hard drive fails, Or if a sophisticated ransomware attack targets your home network, you cannot just call a toll-free number and demand that a massive tech company fix it for you.
Right. The double-edged sword of total autonomy. You are free, but you are also entirely on your own. Which brings up the technical safeguards. How does a NAS actually protect against hardware failure? Because hard drives have moving parts. They eventually die. That is not a probability. It is just a law of physics. How do you prevent a hardware failure from wiping out a lifetime of memories?
This is where NAS systems show their true engineering brilliance, utilizing a technology called RAID, which stands for Redundant Array of Independent Disks. Instead of saving a file to one single vulnerable drive, a NAS uses multiple hard drives working together in unison. Imagine you have a highly sensitive, irreplaceable document. Instead of just putting it in one folder, the NAS mathematically slices that document into tiny pieces and distributes it across 3 or 4 different hard drives, along with a special cryptographic code called parity. If one of those physical drives catches fire or simply dies of old age, the system does not panic. You do not lose a single file. You just pull out the dead drive, slide in a brand new, empty one, and the NAS uses the surviving pieces and that parity code to magically rebuild all the missing data from scratch. It is a self-healing ecosystem.
That is almost biological. It is like a lizard growing back a lost tail. The system sustains damage, but it uses its own internal logic to regenerate and preserve the whole. It is a beautiful piece of engineering. But it also forces us to confront our own relationship with data. There is almost a psychological element to all of this. We have become a society of digital hoarders. In the physical world, hoarding is seen as a problem because physical space is finite. You eventually run out of room in your house. But in the digital world, space feels infinite, so we never delete anything.
That is a profound observation. The public cloud encourages digital hoarding because their entire business model relies on you needing more space, which means you have to upgrade to the next, more expensive subscription tier. It is a trap of infinite accumulation. Owning a NAS forces you to physically confront the scale of your digital footprint. You have to buy the drives. You have to slot them in. It brings a sense of physical weight back to our virtual lives. It makes you ask, what is actually worth saving? What data truly matters? It transforms data storage from a passive, mindless subscription into an intentional, curated act of preservation.
As we wrap up this discussion, it feels like we are at a major crossroads in how we interact with the digital world. The pendulum swung so incredibly far toward complete centralization, giving absolutely everything to the cloud for the sake of ease, and now we are witnessing the inevitable, powerful swing back toward decentralization, privacy, and personal ownership.
It is a natural historical cycle. Convenience always wins at first, until the hidden costs of that convenience become too high to ignore. Whether it is the financial drain of endless subscriptions, the erosion of personal privacy, or the fear of AI scraping every thought we type, people and businesses are waking up. A NAS is so much more than just a piece of networking hardware. It is a statement of independence. It is a declaration that your data, your memories, and your intellectual property belong to you and no one else. The technology will inevitably get smarter, faster, and more accessible, but the core philosophy will remain exactly the same: taking back control.
Taking back control. That is the perfect note to end on. It forces us to ask ourselves a rather uncomfortable, yet necessary question. If you do not physically possess your data, do you truly exist in the digital age? Or are you just a temporary tenant in a corporate database waiting for the terms of service to inevitably change? Ah, thank you for joining me in this exploration. Until next time, keep your keys close and your data even closer.